So when we talk about making America great again, we're not talking about car alarms going off down the street, but I feel like we do ourselves a disservice because when we talk about that, it feels like you want to progress and go backwards. And it reminds me of when people would talk about wanting to be high school skinny a few years ago. When you realize that you've grown into a fully mature body, you realize that you are not of the adolescent sort of physique anymore. So why go back? Why not just be the best that you are in the moment that you're in? If we're talking about making the country great again and, you know, how much we love it and all these things, then littering would be almost non-existent. We wouldn't trash the country that we love. We wouldn't look at things like putting your cart back in the shopping center as such a chore. You wouldn't leave it just because you say, well, somebody else works there, so it's up to them to, you know, clean up my mess or whatever. Those things are in place and we can all use them, and it all helps us benefit one another. Opening doors for one another. Just being polite in general, not having this snarky and mean-spirited reply that we all too often see, not even just online, but just the way people treat each other face-to-face. Our human interaction is lacking, and there's a lot to be said for changing the culture of how we treat one another. When we're looking at free speech, which that kind of ties into, I don't think that free speech was brought about for us to bully, shame one another, and admonish one another for particular beliefs or anything like that. Again, there's that alarm. But so again, when we talk about that, that's not what it was for. It was meant for people to come together, be able to speak in a town hall sort of way, and have solution-minded ideas as to how they can better their community. But we seem to fail each other with that, with just being able to cut to the quick and just speak what we want to without real putting much thought into it. And I guess that's a right, but I don't think that that's what it was in place for. Just me. When we talk about making America great again, what does again mean? Are we talking about medical practices because we're way more advanced than we were even 30 years ago? Are we talking about how we treat military personnel, how we view war, because we're not singing songs going off to war anymore? We've realized that it's a nasty sort of entity, and while war may always wage on between countries and mankind and all that good stuff, it still doesn't mean that we have to glorify it the way that it once was. Are we talking about the depiction of people in the media and how years ago people of different demographics would only be portrayed by one demographic, that sort of thing, and how we all bought into it? Are we talking about the segregation? Are we talking about the oppression of people, not just the black community, but we're talking about the Asian community, how they've been treated, the indigenous people, the homosexual and lesbian community? There's so many things that were not great at all for many people. So to say make it great again, I just have to question what again means and what time periods we're talking about. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot that's been wonderful about this country, how we've set standards with technology, space, you know, all that entertainment. It's all wonderful. But in totality, we have to look at everybody now, because there's more people here than there were just, 100 years ago. And there's a much larger group and diversity. So we have to enjoy the melting pot that we're in, but we need to address what great means. So I think that we can all begin to come together, pull our own weight, make things the change that we want to see in the world. But we have to understand that we don't do our future justice if we're trying to hold it to a standard of the past. So guys, it's just my thoughts. Peace, love, unity, solidarity. Have a great day.